Hello, everyone. Well, you can pretty much tell we're not really in the studios, getting ready for week 13 of the National Football League, and I am joined by, we found him, AJ. He somehow showed up knocking on my door and said, man, I'm ready for week 13 of the NFL. And it's Jacob Meadows from the Coach's Quarters here on the Mean Gene Show.
What is up, everybody? What's up, AJ? What's up, Mr. Dean? I missed you guys last week. I was out of it. I was down for the count. I could not make it, but I am happy to be back.
AJ, we didn't tell all this business last week, right? We just went ahead and rolled with the flow.
Yeah, that's all we did. Yeah, we were just
Sure.
Yeah,
rolling
that's
for
all we
sure.
did, folks. Well, hey, hope everyone had a happy out there here in the H Town. Hope you didn't eat too much. Look, one reason why we're sitting down because you can't see my stomach now. This is like okay. I was told that you had to set your scales back 15 pounds on Thanksgiving. AJ, you are 15 pounds, but I do not.
Oh well, no, I mean, I don't gorge myself on Thanksgiving. That was like a young child thing. I just paced myself, so no, I didn't worry about that. I went to the gym on Thanksgiving and the day after too, so
Yeah,
wasn't really worried about
we know he goes to the gym, don't he, Jacob?
Oh yeah,
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 absolutely.
folks. Yeah, AJ. Look, AJ is all cut up there. I
that.
think that when I was his age, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you were in the military too, though, so you kind of had to. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Fair.
that military stuff. That don't take me down that road. But hey, folks, we hope you're ready for a Week 13 recap of the NFL. Look, the season. There's only a couple of more weeks. Okay, fantasy football players. We got at the end of the show. We're gonna kind of get you update and let you know get ready for the playoffs here because depending on what kind of league you're in, Jacob, you may miss the playoffs if you don't pay attention.
You're 100% right. It's a lot of players playing really well here at the end of the season. A lot of them were like the free agent pickup gems. A lot of the people you think were going to do good at the beginning of the year most certainly have not panned out the way that others have.
Yeah, if you still stuck with your original roster, you're probably in last place. Okay, I mean, you have to move and groove when it comes to fantasy football. But anyway, all right. How about this? Because the NFL season for Week 13 this week there were no buys. Okay, so no one had a buy. This is a crazy weekend for Thanksgiving for the NFL and for fantasy football guys because you have to have your lineups in what 3 games on Thursday, one on Friday. This Black Friday game is just we're gonna talk about that later because I'm like, okay, first of all, you call it a Black Friday game when you know everybody's out there shopping.
To be honest, I missed it. I had to watch replays. I didn't even realize it was happening. So yeah,
It's
that
the
was
second
brutal.
time I think they've done that, and it's like, okay, why do you have a game at what is it, 1 o'clock in the Eastern time on a Friday? So, okay, what were you gonna say, AJ?
Oh no, I was just gonna say yeah, it's that early, but yeah,
It's just crazy.
yeah.
Okay, all right. So, like we said, no teams on the bye this week. We're gonna talk about the Black Friday games here. We had 7 early games today, and there were 3 games here in the late window. We're gonna talk about for the Snow Bowl that's happening at Hallmark Stadium in Buffalo, New York. It's going to be the 49ers at the Bills. And oh man, I know you're excited, Jacob.
I'm stoked. CMC is either going to make or break my season in your fantasy league this week. So that game to go. I need the needle to tilt my way on that one. I'm really holding out for it. So it's going to be, there's like 2 feet of snow in that stadium. It's going to be awesome.
Poor fans there. They do this thing every year, I guess, where fans, what they pay you or give you a free ticket or whatever, if you help shovel the snow. I don't know. I'm like, man, that's on TV. I don't need that. But anyway, and we also will make our predictions on Monday night's game. It's going to be the Browns and the Broncos. Okay, we'll give you all of our opinions on that. Okay, so also, all right, if you are following us, or if you see in our faces, then you're obviously on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ at ESPN Houston. Okay, and we're also on Twitch. And I tell you what, AJ, I know you couldn't wait to talk about this today. And man, look, the Cowboys beat the Giants on Thanksgiving Day. Their first win at home for the season. And AJ, were you excited?
I mean, we couldn't lose to the Giants, especially on Thanksgiving, because I believe there's like almost 40 million people watching. So yeah, you had to win that game. But don't get me wrong, I still want them to embrace the tank. But then they play the Bengals next week too, though. While their offense is dynamic, I do think that their defense is so shaky that they can be had, honestly. So I'm not. I feel like they could beat the Bengals, to be honest, too. So I wouldn't be
You're gonna
surprised
be
at all.
playing a pissed off Bengals, huh, Jacob?
Oh yeah. Hey, Cooper Rush looked good, AJ. Cooper Rush is a quarterback.
Yeah, he's a quarterback in the NFL. Yeah.
He's
He's a really good backup.
He's Cooper Rush, football guy.
Yeah, but
like
you
he
look
may
at-
not be like a star, but I mean, as a fill-in for the Dak Prescott, like Cooper Rush is a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, no, he for sure. He's one of the best backups in the league. I'll say that most definitely. But
the stats were not as good for that game, but give it up to the running game. I think the
Rico.
Cowboys are pretty solid with the running back that they have. It seems like Rico has gotten better as the season has progressed.
No, I agree for sure. He had 112 rushing yards on 20 carries, so that was good. But I still feel like I would want him back next year, but I want him as like a running back number 2. That's why I want them to get Genty or someone like that, or maybe a free agent potentially. But I would want Genty because I mean that's a young running back, things of that nature. He would be able to transform that backfield and offense really.
It's going to be interesting to see here, folks. I mean, that was a pretty good game. Cowboys win 27-20, and let's see. I think we got some sound bites from that game on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day.
Lock with play action, screen, tipped up in the air and intercepted by Overshown. Running right to the goal line, touchdown, Overshown. Oh, what an athletic play that is.
That guy has really stepped up on defense. And look, from a fantasy perspective, I had to go with the Cowboys defense, knowing they were going up against the Giants. And I think I got like 19 points. That was a pretty good defensive stand for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh dang, I can't blame you. Yeah, I used to have them like earlier in the year, and I've been having them the past few years. But when they started to like lose those games and those blowouts, I've dropped them. But I will say the Overshown. I told a lot of people about him before this season. Like he is a dynamic linebacker. He got hurt last year in his rookie year in the preseason, but him and Micah, they're going to be a good tandem for years to come in terms of the Cowboys defense for sure. Like they're physical freaks too.
Jacob, what were your thoughts on that Thanksgiving Day game, Dallas?
I thought it was good. I hate it for the same reason that AJ does, right? Like you want the better draft pick, like is more important. But if you listen to Micah Parsons' podcast, they're not out of the playoffs yet. Dallas is going to win the Super Bowl. This is y'all's year. Like this is the year. So I mean that kind of sucks because honestly I hate the Cowboys. But if Genty went there, like that'd be dope. It'd be really fun to watch. And it's in Texas, so I can see him in person.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people are forgetting about that guy over there in Boise State. But, hey, big win for the Dallas Cowboys. One of the other games that took place on Thanksgiving Day, it was the red-hot Detroit Lions who extended their win streak to 10 games. They held off the Chicago Bears for a 20-3. And I tell you what, man, I don't know what to say. Do we applaud the Detroit Lions for their performance, or do we just go ahead and rip the Chicago Bears for an opportunity at the end of that game, how they blew that game, Jacob?
I think it's a little bit of both worlds, right? Like you have to be upset with Detroit for almost blowing a lead for one. There was no reason for Chicago to ever be in that with the state of what they were. And then Eberflus got fired for Chicago. So like the damage has been done. They are setting their sights on the future at this point, and you just kind of have to take it at face value because I think this game really showed Williams is a guy. Like he is going to end up being good at football. Maybe it really was coaching holding the Bears back this whole time. And then on the flip side, somehow Dan Campbell let Chicago come back in a game that they should have never taken their foot off the gas in. And there was no reason for the Bears to ever be in that in the first place. You have to worry about faltering here at the end of the year. There were a lot of injuries. Maybe they're getting worn out a little bit. That's not what you want to see at the end of the season when you're supposed to be the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, man, things change there, and with teams. Look, I mean, it's a 17 game season. Things change. It's hard to keep up that moment. Philly is doing things a lot different than what they did last year. It's like a tale of two different teams. Where this time last year, Philly was like just tanking. It seems like, and look at what those guys are doing. I mean, one player just made one hell of a difference there. But if you're the Detroit Lions, you're in uncharted territories. You haven't been this good since World War II, right? So no one knows what to expect, and you still hold your breath when you watch teams like this, especially when the Bears almost come back to get a game time field goal or maybe even a go ahead touchdown. But you're right in that position at all. So anyway, Matt Eberflus, he is out of there. Rarely does the Bears fire a coach in the middle of the season. This is the first time in their 100 plus year history that they have fired a coach in the middle of the season. So a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if Black Monday is going to have that meaning that it used to have in the NFL, where you just sit around and wait and see who's going to be fired, because I think all the coaches have been fired.
Yeah, I mean, they are all gone. I mean, off the top of my head, there's nobody deserving of it anymore, unless Brian Daboll got cut and back. So I mean, that's Black Monday is going to be a pretty quiet day for the NFL for the first time in what seems like a while this year.
It might be just more GMs or front office people, or maybe position coaches changing, but it seems like the head coaching thing is already. I think people are already taking care of business. So look, we got one more game we're going to talk about from the Thanksgiving Day schedule, and that's going to be the Packers and the Dolphins, and we'll do all of that when we return. Folks, once again, you are listening to the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
Okay, once again, we are back. It's the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows and our producer in the studio, and AJ, and we are getting you all of the updates from Week 13 of the National Football League, which got underway Thanksgiving Day. We talked about the Bears and the Lions, and was it the Bears and Lions?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Bears
we
and
talked
Lions.
about the. So there was another game on Jacob that was an unusual matchup. Yeah, I can't remember watching many Miami Dolphins Green Bay Packer games, but this was a pretty interesting game as the Vikings, I'm sorry, as the Dolphins maintaining their spot second place in the AFC East division, which I don't know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think only one team is going to come out of that East. But the most interesting thing is the Packers, though, with a 9-3 record, they're third place in the NFC North, which I think three teams will probably make that playoffs, Jacob. But man, what a win! Packers win 30. The
Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, yeah.
It's crazy that the Packers are 9-3 and in third place. Like I was talking before we came on live that I really didn't think the Packers were going to be that good this year, and it turns out they're legit. They just happen to be in the toughest division in football this season, and they steamrolled the Dolphins. It was nowhere near as close as the final score.
No.
My roommate's a diehard, lifelong Miami fan. He was in shambles the entire game. He was real sad after Tua ended his because Tua came back, played good ball. Like
Yeah,
Tua's
yeah.
been pretty solid since he came back. And man, Green Bay just absolutely obliterated them throughout the game. It could have been worse, but it definitely wasn't good.
And sometimes I wonder what the game plan is for the Miami Dolphins when they come into a game like this. They were shut out in the first quarter, only got 3 up in the second quarter, 8 in the third, and 6 in the fourth. So look, it was like you said, it was a game. Should have been a blowout. Let's not take anything away from the Packers. I mean, they're 9-3 for a reason, and Jordan Love is having a sensational season, as well as the receivers, and not to mention running the ball as Josh Jacobs. Man, I got to think that the Raiders really missed this guy. He was, 19 carries, 43 yards, but he got a touchdown. He got in the end zone. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think the Green Bay Packers. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do in the playoffs this year.
I think that's one of the teams you don't want to play. And it was similar last season. They were kind of that dark horse team that you really didn't want to go up against because they're so young, capable of popping off at any given time. And I think the Packers are going to be one of the scarier teams because despite the fact that they're third place, I think they're much more intimidating than the Vikings. So the Packers are going to be a force come the playoffs, assuming they have 3 teams enter the playoffs or that they don't leap number 2. But yeah, man, I tell you what, the Packers are something serious this season.
They are serious. But how many games are we going to watch where Tua Tagovailoa will have nearly 400 yards passing, but it's not showing up in wins? It's not showing up. I mean, and it's one of those. He'll get hot in a quarter, and then just taper off. I mean, these stats are not bad. He put the ball up 46 times, 365 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not really bad, but man, it's just not enough for Miami to win.
It might not happen on Black Monday, but one of the coaches that there's not enough chatter about is I think Mike McDaniel hotter seat than what people think. And if there's not just a massive turnaround by the end of the season, I think he may be let go at the end of the year, opening one of the probably most prestigious coaching opportunities up to a free agent coach outside of Chicago. Like this could be a very sought after position with it because it does feel like coaching might be part of the problem. And the clock management is bad. It doesn't feel like they take full advantage of their personnel. I mean, I know Ty Hill's wrist is all banged up, but I mean, it just doesn't feel like Mike McDaniel's doing a terrific job this year. And we could see the end of the Mike McDaniel era in Miami. And this game might just be a catalyst for it after how bad the Packers made Miami look throughout.
AJ, what are your thoughts on that? You think they shake McDaniel this early in his contract?
Well, I know they just gave him a contract extension before the year started to 2027. So I don't know how likely that is. I mean, because he'll get some slack too because of Tua being out as well. But I think they have to have better contingency plans in terms of if Tua does get hurt too. Because I mean, you can't just lose your quarterback and then boom, your season's over again. Because you never know what's going to happen.
That is true. That is true. So it should be interesting, and they still have an outside, just small chance of sneaking into the playoffs. We just have to see how everything pans out. So, okay, look, how many times this year have we talked about the Chiefs wins and the fact of how they win? Okay, so on Black Friday, okay, if you missed the game, Chiefs win the game 19-17, and it was as close as the score indicate because they recovered a botched snap in the by the Raiders in the closing seconds of that game to clinch not only the win but a playoff berth with a 19-17 victory. And we have still yet to see the best of the Chiefs. Oh, and by the way, Pacheco returned.
Yeah, Pacheco's a dog, man. That guy is so good. But at the end of that game, just like what seems like the end of every Kansas City game, and everybody outside of Kansas City who's not a fan of Kansas City gets to complain week in and week out. They're the best team in the league. All they do is win. It is terrific. But man, it's a controversial call every single time. Looks like the line ref, blew it dead at the line. They ended up not blowing it dead at the line at the end of that game. Fumble goes to Kansas City. Kansas City gets the dub. That game was nuts. The Raiders could have won that game. And if the Raiders kicker doesn't miss the kick, right, and if the Raiders play a little better, they win that game. Kansas City's a beatable team. They're just not a beatable team.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see here, and look, you don't want to have one of those years where you just, get by and get to. I mean, right now, if the playoffs were to start today, I think Buffalo or whoever would just probably beat the brakes off the Chiefs. I think this would be the year that Buffalo can beat the Chiefs, but don't count these guys out. Man, they seem to like to play under the radar. How they win ugly games like this, I do not know. And and there's a lot of chatter out there, guys, that the referees are just really kind of giving them a lot of favoritism.
Yeah, and Hollywood's coming back. We're nearing Hollywood Brown coming back for him, which again sucks for the rest of the league if you're not a Chiefs fan. But if you are a Chiefs fan, it's fantastic because Hollywood's going to give that offense that extra little bit of oomph after having Xavier Worthy there and getting basically anything they can out of everybody that's still there. And their defense is legit. So,
well, now look, one of our guys in the chat this is a little bit overrated. I mean, I would have to agree with them because they are not. Look, this game could have easily went to the Raiders, and it probably should have. And I don't know. I don't like the way it ended. I think the Chiefs did get some favoritism there.
I can't argue with that. It looks like the refs don't want to step in and stop the three-peat from being possible.
Because you can't complain, right? If you complain, you're gonna get fined. But anyway, let's talk about the one bright spot for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I just hate to talk about the Raiders. They treated us so well when we was in Las Vegas. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's a great city, folks. If you ever been to Vegas, of course, some people don't like Vegas, Jacob, but we do, right? We sure do.
Baby.
But look here, Brock Bowers. Let me tell you, man, this guy is the real deal. He was targeted 14 times, 10 receptions, 140 yards. This guy's the real deal. I think they miss him in Georgia, don't they?
Yeah, you're not kidding. He's about to break every tight end record that exists for a rookie tight end in the NFL. He's better than what anybody anticipated coming out of Georgia, and he was already pegged to be one of the greatest coming out of Georgia. Like he never looked this good for the Dogs, and that's saying something because he literally looked like one of the best players in college football week in and week out for the Dogs. Yeah, good on the Raiders for getting him.
Yeah, and look, as far as Antonio, is it Pierce?
Pierce.
Yeah, is it Antonio Pierce?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think he's going to keep that job. And look, and Raider fans are not shocked. Anytime anyone gets a short 2-year contract like that, it's almost like it's like he started with an extension, not a contract. That's not a contract, right? Contracts now going for what 5 to 7 years at least for coaches.
Long, yeah.
It seems like. So this guy, he's not going to be the coach next year. They're probably going to get a high draft pick. So we'll see. But it's just unfortunate. The Raiders are just playing crappy ball there. And speaking of crappy ball, okay, we got to bring it home. Okay, the Houston Texans today. Oh man, this was Jacob. Can you describe this game in one word?
Not on ESPN radio, but I mean, man, they are the Texans. I am a homer, right? I love the Houston Texans, but God bless, they are a terrible football team right now. That the defense looks good. There are flashes of bad. Don't get me wrong, but man, that offense is just. Jones looked elite today.
Yeah.
Mac Jones hasn't looked elite since Alabama, and that was a stretch when he was
Yeah.
there. It is just.
Well, let's talk about how he got into the game, which is just really crazy that Trevor Lawrence gets knocked out the game by
Alshire, Agent
and
Zero.
look, a really bad play, a bad hit, and he got ejected, rightfully so. So did one of the other guys on the Jaguars. But look, man, they nearly staged a comeback and beat the Texans. And look, the Texans are 8-5, very comfortable in the AFC South. But this 8-5, this team is completely different than last year's team. And I see trouble on the horizon in the playoffs, unless because we've seen some really bad play.
We have. And, I don't want to say, especially not in Houston, that there's a Black Friday firing that I'm hoping on. And you don't let go of your OC in the middle of a season, but it does feel like, it feels like Slowick schemes have been figured out, and Slowick doesn't know how to re-scheme in the middle of a game. Like he has a game plan, right? Like he has an idea of what he wants, and if it doesn't work, he just doubles down on it. There is no you don't get away from what the actual scheme does. Feel like it's killing this offense, and we may have an OC opening going into next season. Then it very well might be warranted.
And you know what? And I don't want to, scare anyone. I mean, we've seen teams go through slumps, and who knows? They could just really turn it around here. This is a new month. It's December. Things could change, and the old cliche. You want to be playing good football in December and carry that over into January. So we should see. But I think there should be some concern for the Houston Texans as they are easily going to win the AFC South and get into the playoffs. But question is how they're going to play when they get there. So look, we are at the take a break. When we come back, we got Chargers and Falcons, Titans and Commanders, and Cardinals and Vikings updates for you on the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows right here on ESPN 97.5.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, welcome back, folks. Once again, it's the Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5 with my man from the coaches' quarters, Jacob. You've been talking about on the coaches' quarters.
Man, we've been slow to put out some content. I've been using these shows for a little bit now. It's a whirlwind at the house, and we keep losing power. You know, we had this internet company come out and they installed fiber throughout our neighborhood. All of the existing neighborhood, and the entire neighborhood has lost power about twice every week for about 2 months now, and it's a nightmare because we're losing power for a day to 2 days at a time. The guys aren't coming out and fixing anything. Like, all the yards are torn up, and it has been a nightmare. I get lucky if I get to watch the games at my house somewhere else.
Get out of here.
Man, it sucks. We're on the wrong side of the tracks. That's all.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Hey, a quick shout out.
It's
Chewy.
713, little Chewy.
713, man. Thanks for chiming in, keeping me and Jacob on our toes here because
It's good
and,
content. It's good
very
information.
good content. Thanks for connecting with us. Okay, so we got more games we want to cover from the early games, 7 early games that were played today, week 13 of the National Football League. Once again, no buys. Okay, so if you're playing fantasy football, everybody should have. Okay, this next game here. How about the 8-4 Chargers and the 6-6 Atlanta Falcons? So don't laugh, but the Falcons are first place in the NFC South at 6-6. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. But anyway, the Chargers got the better of them today, and boy, when I say the better, I mean they got the better of AJ. Is he your cousin? He's not. Wait a minute,
No,
Jacob, is he your cousin? No, he's Kirk Cousins,
Kirk Cousins.
who threw how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 interceptions a day. I don't know. And we talk about this all the time. When you get the good Kirk Cousins, you get the good one. How the hell they are in first place in in the NFC South? I don't know.
That is a tough division that nobody wants to win for the second year in a row, might I add. That was a tough division to win for no reason last year, too. And you know, this Captain Kirk, right? I wanted Kirk Cousins in all my fantasy leagues. I believed that Raheem Morris and Kirk Cousins were going to take down the NFL. And now, you know, he's the closest thing. He reminds me of the end of his career, Matt Schaub, more than anybody else has since Matt Schaub walked. And Matt Schaub issues. I don't think that's it with Kirk Cousins. And man, that Falcons team is hurting with all of the. This is his third or fourth game with 3+ picks, Gene.
Well, I mean, look at these stats here, folks, and I'm not making this up. 24 of 39, 245 yards, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions, quarterback rating. You know, it's not like they don't have Bijan Robinson, who they probably should have gave the ball more to. The game plan probably should have changed when he wasn't connecting to anybody. I was expecting a big game from London today. That didn't happen. Bijan Robinson did have a pretty good game. But I tell you what, man, the rookies this year in the NFL are Lad McConkey. Is that another Georgia guy?
It sure is.
Oh, my goodness. What the?
Stud.
Okay, he was targeted 12 times. Look, this is something that the Atlanta Falcons knew he was going to be targeted that many damn times, and they couldn't do nothing. 9 receptions, 117 yards. And how about Ray McCloud? He was probably the biggest bright spot on as far as the receivers go for the Falcons.
He was good for Drake. I can't say too much bad about Drake London. He put up 17 points on my fantasy benches. And I mean, Drake London did look pretty good. He made some solid grabs that probably shouldn't have been caught. But yeah, I mean, Ray he's really looked good for Atlanta in spurts, but he has looked good.
Here's the thing that tells you it was all Kirk Cousins. Okay, Falcons 24 first downs to the Chargers 10. All right, passing yards, believe it or not, 234 to their 131. Rushing yards, 116 to 56 in the total. 350 to 187. You're supposed to win those games with these type of stats. This was all on Kirk Cousins, and I'm beginning to think now that maybe they should have kept Desmond Ritter. I mean, I don't think
Well, they
I'm
drafted
not
Michael
saying.
Penix, so if any
Got
conversation
Michael
there,
Penix
it'll be that one.
waiting, just waiting. And he's
I'm
gonna
surprised
be
he didn't get into the game.
I don't. Go ahead, AJ. My bad.
Oh no, you're good. I was just saying that. I mean, you're paying Kirk too much, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
you're right
money
about
thing.
that.
And not all of it. A lot of it was Kirk. A lot of it was Kirk. But you can't blame it. There were some tip balls, and like there were some catches that should have been made that weren't. And you got to feel a little bad for Kirk some of the time, but with him being a veteran for as long as he's been, right, doing all the things that he's done, he's been Mr. Consistent for almost a decade. This is not the Kirk Cousins the Falcons thought they were buying when they brought him in.
That's why I said he's not my cousin. He's
My cousin.
he's Kirk Cousins. So all right. So this next game, we were going to talk about this game, but this is probably the what had happened game. I'm going to move that. Now, I was going to originally put the Bears as the what had happened. Would have been there too many times this year, right? Well, since they fired the coach, now we know what happened. They fired the coach, right? So we don't have to go there. So we're gonna save the what had happened game was, and we're gonna skip on to the Cardinals and the Vikings. Which I tell you what, man, another team that Vikings win the game by 3-22 at home. So man, I expected more of a offensive output. And what's going on with Justin Jefferson? Why are his numbers not where they need to be?
I think it's Sam Darnold. The Minnesota offensive line. This Minnesota should have lost this game. That was kind of what I was alluding to when we were talking. I think the Packers don't end the season number 3 in that division. I think the Minnesota's kind of taking a step back. That offense is it takes way too long to get out of the gates for Minnesota. Sam Darnold needs 2 quarters to warm up. I mean, he did come back. He looked pretty good in the second half. Arizona should have won this game. Kyler Murray looked better. Trey McBride's a stud. Jettas had a decent game, but it's not what it should have been. And despite the supporting cast around Justin Jefferson in terms of a wide receiver core, it has been some pretty lackluster output from the guys around him. And I kind of think it's Sam Darnold. I think that's why they brought in Danny Dimes. Jones for landing somewhere else so quickly. But they brought in Danny Dimes. I think Sam Darnold might be on his way out. And Danny Dimes might step in as the de facto QB2 behind McCarthy next season for that reason.
And that's kind of really tough to think that way, because here's the thing. They look, the Vikings are on a 5 streak here. So, and you're right, they do start off slow, but somehow it's how you finish.
They're 10-2.
And say what you want. They only one game behind the Detroit Lions. And I think we're in for another showdown coming up here pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken, between the Vikings and the Lions, which, could be for the division for all we know. Now, wouldn't that be something? We just talked about the third place team that only has 3 losses, right? They're 9-3.
Yep.
And that's the Green Bay Packers. So how about being 10-2, second place? And we know where the Lions are with their record. So man, I don't know. Maybe this is what it is. They came out the box hot. Somewhere they have slowed down, getting, like you said, Jacob, getting out of the first and second quarter barely with 6 and 9 points. With 6 points here going into the halftime, and then before they finally, put 17 up in the second half. But no. And Justin Jefferson, last week I think it was Addison, right? I don't even know if Jefferson was that much of a factor, but I mean he did get 99 yards there, and did he get a touchdown there?
I
Don't
so,
think he got a touchdown. No, 7. He was targeted 9 times. I mean, and 7 receptions for 99 yards, average 14 a catch. Like something is missing, or something is gone haywire, or maybe we're expecting too much.
Even in Sam Darnold's defense, right? Like I can be pretty critical of him. He's on one of my fantasy teams, so I can be real critical.
Well, he's my starting quarterback in my sleeper league.
But they're also missing a run game. They went out, they got Aaron Jones in the offseason, and he's been inconsistent. I mean, you take the one long run away from Aaron Jones that he had today, he finishes this game with like 42 rushing yards. Like it was not a consistent run game.
And a fumble.
Jones. And a fumble.
Yeah.
And they don't have anybody capable behind them. I mean, they do, right? They're in the NFL.
Yeah. Someone, give it to the rookies. It's the year of the rookies. Give it to the rookies. The rookies are just taking over the league. There's no shame. They're not afraid of anything, because if you can watch, Yeah, if you watch college football, and by the way, speaking of college football, did you see Georgia and Georgia Tech? I watched all 8 overtimes. And, look, it sounds dramatic, but college overtime sucks. Okay. They really need to do something. It just sucks. It's no reason to play that many overtimes when you're getting these kids ready for the NFL. Just give them the NFL overtime. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. But I mean, it is entertaining though. But yeah, I agree. It's too complex.
I mean, entertaining, looking for 2 point conversions for like damn near an hour. It's like watching paint dry.
It's more entertaining when it's just like when they're going for touchdown for touchdown. But yeah, when it's the 2 point conversions, I hate that. Yeah, they need to
Agreed.
change it.
Yeah, but it's just remarkable. Anyway, I let's get back on point here. But we should see what happens with the Vikings. Look, I just think week 14, which is next week. Oh yeah, speaking of week 14, there's a lot of buys, so that's going to and you in week 14.
God,
I hope I
so.
am. I hope I am. Because I know. Look, all my guys. Look. I got bit by the buy bug last week. Okay, I think it was when the 6 teams had buys. So I think I'm steamrolling now as we get ready for the playoffs in fantasy football. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up this next hour when we come back, folks. Once again, you're listening to the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows right here on ESPN 97.5.
Now back to Mean Gene, broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios.
All right, folks, we are back here. Going to wrap up the first hour of the Mean Gene Show here with Jacob Meadows from the Coaches Quarter and AJ in the studio. Okay, look. All right, there's a reason why I'm wearing this shirt here. Okay, this is what we're getting ready to talk about a game that was predicted to be a low scoring game that turned out to be one hell of a shootout. I cannot remember in all the years of watching the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals where these games have always been close, especially back there with the Marvin Lewis with those Bengals, but no one expected the Steelers, who sat alone in first place in the AFC North because Baltimore lost today, so they have a 2-game lead over the Ravens now. Okay, the Steelers are 9-3. They went into I think it's Paycor Stadium where my great friend Icky Woods served some good brisket. Now I'm sure they was eating good because guess what else they was doing? They was losing good too, baby. The Steelers win 44-38. Uh, at one time it was getting ugly, but the Bengals came back and scored some late touchdowns. But Jacob, did you expect this shootout here?
I did not. I bought into the media narrative, right? I thought it was going to be a low scoring game. I kind of figured maybe 27-20 edge to whomever, right? But Danger Russ was feeling himself. Joe Burrow, he got hot there at the end of the game, but that Cincinnati defense is awful. That is
God awful.
It's so bad.
It's awful.
And man, the Steelers just look good. They are a very complete team. The defense is good, just like it has been since like 1976. And their run game looks okay. Like it sees flashes of not doing great, but I mean, they are good. That is a good team. The Steelers are good. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. And that's about all I can say bad about that.
Well, look, you're right about Dangerous. Throws for a season high 414 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, this was incredible stuff here. Just a great win here, and in doing so, the Steelers have now had a winning record for 21 straight seasons. They tied the Dallas Cowboys there. The Cowboys had it at one time. It damn sure ain't been lately, but they did have it at one time. Where
Ha ha ha.
okay, all right. I was waiting for something, AJ. But the Steelers since 2006 have had that's 21 consecutive winning winning seasons. And Mike Tomlin, you already know his record. He has not had a losing season. So and look, I expected this game to come down to a field goal and just be really close. But man, the Steelers are really playing. Russell Wilson, whatever you want to say about Tomlin's decision to shuffle these guys, the man knows what he's doing. Okay. And Russell Wilson, this is not the Russell Wilson that was in Denver, nor Russell Wilson in his late seasons with the Seattle Seahawks.
No, not at all. I mean, he looks good. He's spreading the ball around. He even tried to run it a couple times, which, I mean, he has aged a little bit, and he is not the Legion of Boom Russ that could move around quite as well. But he has played exceptional ball. And like you said, say what you will about Mike Tomlin's decision to start him, because it could have been a compensation-based thing. It could be because maybe Fields wasn't showing everything that they wanted. It could just be because they wanted to kick the tires on Russ, but deservingly so. And can you believe that there have been chirps the last couple of years that Mike Tomlin should be fired? It's absurd.
It's always.
It's absurd.
Mm-hmm. It's always that way. I mean, look here, because I think some fans want you to do more than just make the playoffs. They want you to win the whole damn thing, and the Steelers haven't always been the best team in their division. I mean, you look at these Ravens teams, you look at those Browns teams and Bengals teams there. So I mean, it's tough. It's not. And then there was this one guy by the name of Tom Brady who was winning Super Bowls, in the AFC. So I'm like, what are you gonna do there?
Yeah.
I mean, you never know what might happen this year, and we should see. But it was a good division win, and they did not expect the Ravens to lose to Philadelphia and Baltimore. That happened. Now they have what you call a cushion in the AFC North because they have to play the Ravens again, which it might be a meaningless game at this point. Now they're gonna play each other late in the season. And the Steelers now have that cushion there. So how about this game here? We Anthony Richardson and the Colts, they hang on in a clutch to sneak past the Patriots, which they went 24-25. A lot of close games today, Jacob. But the Colts are now 6-7, which second place in the AFC South. I can't say now that they don't have in the hunt at this point.
They are aiming for a wild card spot. They needed this dub to get there, and they did. How about Shane Steichen going for 2 at the end of it to take the lead? And then it was a beautiful win, right? 2-point conversion was perfect. AR looked really good. And then New England drove down the field and missed a A for the record, B for the win by about yay much. and it was right down the middle, and the Patriots ended up losing. But shout out to the Colts. It was a really good win. Thank God the Texans swept them this season, because it does feel like they're on a tear
It does
right
look
now.
like things are changing. The same, decision there as far as thought it was going to be Joe Flacco for the remainder of the year with the Indianapolis Colts. So somehow they decide, well, you know what, we're going to go ahead and go with this Richardson guy, which for the last couple of weeks they have needed him on the field because he has gotten them some quality wins. He did it with his legs today too, right? I think he got in. Let's see, where's his stats
9
here?
carries for 48 yards and a tutter.
Yeah. So he did get in there, and his overall stats, 24 attempts, completed 12 of those, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and two interceptions, but enough to get the win. Jonathan Taylor, he helped with a lot with 25 carries and 96 yards. So I tell you what, a couple of more weeks of football left here, and that's why the Texans is so important now. They pretty much have to win out.
It's coming down to, again, thank God we got the sweep on them.
I know.
The Colts are moving. AR's getting better on the fly. The run game looks good. Alec Pierce is a much better football player than I give him credit for. And he seems to always come down with a late game touchdown that somehow puts the Colts in a position to win games. So, yeah, I mean, it is coming down. But on the flip side, right, New England, maybe not as bad as what they should have been. Like Drake May, football guy. I'm going to say that every week I'm on this show. Stud. He is so good at football, and I thought he was going to suck. So it is the Patriots definitely aren't winning very many more to finish this season, but they did look good against the Colts, and they snatched defeat from the jaws of
Boy, they did. They did. And you know what? Drake May, I tell you what, I think the Patriots fans would rather have Drake May than Mac Jones. You can between these two quarterbacks. And I think the future does look bright for Drake May and the Patriots. I just don't know why. It just seems like their receivers, man, they haven't had good quality receivers in a long time, and they just kind of get by with their receivers.
Yeah, I do think that this, Belichick didn't like to spend on receivers. That was the big thing. I mean, he got Randy Moss, but outside of Moss, I mean, he didn't like to spend on receivers. I know he brought in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith for ridiculous contracts there at the end. But I think that there might be some big name free agent receivers that are willing to go to New England to play for Drake May, right? They have Ramondre Stevenson at really good. That defense is pretty okay and could definitely improve. So I think we might see a much different New England team, especially if Gerard Mayo can get in and kind of unify everybody. They get them on that, back in the Patriot way, but Gerard Mayo's Patriot way.
3-10, the Patriots are right now, place in the AFC East, which we'll see what happens next year. So look, I got to give a quick shout out because AJ Jacob, the Christmas tree. Okay, my girl, her daughter, she decorated the tree, and we wanted to make sure we had the tree. And look, if you haven't gotten your tree up, get it up now, okay? Because it's that time of the year. You got yours up?
Well, my girlfriend's got hers up.
Okay,
it counts for the both of us.
Okay, there you go. AJ, you got your Christmas tree up?
Oh yeah, but I helped my mom the other day put stuff up. I mean, I really didn't want to, but yeah, I got volunteered, so
Good son, AJ.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good.
When
good
I
job.
get a girl, I'll probably help her.
Because look, I mean, it's that everyone knows the day after Thanksgiving you got to have that tree up. I mean, it's just it just makes no sense.
Some
not
people
to
put
have
it
it
up in November.
Oh, what? Before
Halloween.
Thanksgiving? Oh, Halloween. Oh no, I don't think I've ever.
Me either.
That's pretty damn early. AJ, are you at all concerned that the Texans could probably squander their lead there? Not not their lead because they're always going to have the lead over the Colts, but just win-loss records here. They're really flirting with the Colts here. I mean, the Colts could finish better than the Texans.
I think the Texans, they'll still win. They're going to have that tough stretch against the Dolphins, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. That's going to be an interesting
Oh, that's
fixture
a
right there
big-
later in the month. But I think they'll still win the division. But I think for the Texans fans, it's how they're winning the games too. They really haven't had a impressive win the whole season, honestly, except for the Patriots game, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things. So I think a lot of fans just aren't satisfied. That's the consensus I hear that from all Texans fans. That they're just not happy with how they played overall this year.
When will the real Texans return, Jacob? I mean, do you know what we saw in the weeks 1, 2, and 3? I mean, When are we gonna see that again?
Probably weeks 1, 2, and 3 next year.
That was it.
I'm hoping they turn it around for the playoffs, right? I hope we get some sort of continuity, I guess would be the best word for it at this point, with the offensive line, and you know, everybody healthy on offense, and all of our Aziz Al-Shaair doesn't absolutely spearhole Trevor Lawrence into oblivion today. I do think that our defense plays a little better. He is our best linebacker, no matter what anybody says. The guy's really good at football. Did deserve to be ejected. Hopefully, he doesn't get suspended.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be what it is.
I really liked how the coach was out there trying to, tell him, hey, not here. This is not the time or the place. We got to get off the field and do what needs to be done. Just an unfortunate situation that happened, and we hope that Trevor Lawrence is okay from that injury. It did take him out the game, and they did have to put in that Texans Jaguars game. So look here. We are going to wrap up this first hour. When we come back in the second hour, folks, we got our main man, Dustin Pfeiffer, who covers the Carolina Panthers for FanDuel Sports Southeast. He's going to join us to talk about that Colts Buccaneers. What was it? Panthers Buccaneers game this afternoon. And then we also have our What Had Happened Was coming up in the next hour, as well as updates and recap some of the late games. Okay, so stick with us. It's the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5 Houston. All right, we are back for the second hour of the Mean Gene Show right here with Jacob Meadows and our producer AJ, getting you ready for more updates and recaps from Week 13 of the National Football League. And look, it is so nice to be in this nice, warm, cozy place for Jacob, okay? Because what's happening in Buffalo right now is ridiculous.
Man, it looks so nice on TV. It is warm in this
All
house.
we see is a white TV. And you can see it in the background. There's a white screen back there. It's just crazy what's going on up there. Snow's falling all over the place. And look, guys, I used to be a groundskeeper. And thank goodness I was a groundskeeper for the San Diego Chargers, which was a warm state in the city. I can imagine being a groundskeeper in New York or Buffalo or doing this craziness. I would have quit my damn job if I had to deal with this stuff that they're dealing with.
Not enough money on the planet, Gene.
Not enough money at all. So, all right, this is the what had happened was.
So what had happened was
What had happened was
Yeah, what had happened was the Washington Commanders beat the Tennessee Titans 42-19. Was that the score?
Yep, 42-19.
So, I mean, in one way, it doesn't qualify for the what had happened because we expected that to happen, but it happened. And the Titans just looked like crap today, and the Commanders, what a way to come back because I think they were trying to rebound from a loss to who? Was it? Didn't they lose to the Cowboys?
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
So what a rebound. What a comeback win there for the Washington Commanders. And boy, Tennessee looked horrible.
They did. It felt good. After what they did to the Texans last week, it felt great watching Jane Daniels just absolutely kill them. And it was, going into the game, Tennessee had like the third best defense and like Tennessee's got a squad sort of. They have only looked good in like two games all season, one of them being Houston. But I mean, the Commanders outmatched them in literally every way possible. Run game looked good. Brian Robinson couldn't be stopped. Jaden Daniels looked good. Spread. Scary Terry trying to save my fantasy team this week. Scary Terry McLaurin, man, that guy is the most underappreciated star receiver in the league and has been for years now. And I mean, everybody knows his name now, but man,
Yeah.
What a guy.
Yeah, you know what though, and when you said dominate the game here, 29-12 first downs the Commanders had over the Titans. But here's the one, and this is one that get coaches fired here. Rushing yards in this game, the Commanders 267 to 35, and 35 of those, I believe they came from Tony Pollard, which is just ridiculous. So I don't know. They don't have another running back there to run the ball there in Tennessee. This is crazy. This was unacceptable, and I know the Titans are going through. They got a brand new stadium, or they're getting a brand. I don't know where the hell the money's coming from because the damn sure can't be coming from ticket sales because who's going to see that crap, right? And just unbelievable. It's just bad for TV. They're 3-9, although they did beat the Texans, which it makes us question, the Texans a little bit. But anyway, the Commanders are 8-5. They're second place in the NFC East. And man, and the way this thing keeps going here, I tell you, Washington may not make the playoffs because that NFC North is so tight there. And they have better records there than we're certain that Philly is going to win the division. Well, if Washington is going to get in, even with a commanding performance like this.
It does suck. It sucks that they lost the lead of the division because I really wanted to see him go. And shout out to you. It's Chewy713, but I do disagree. He said that he wanted the Commanders to lose. Their defense isn't as good as people may think. And I think the Commanders are mostly a young team, and that defense is pretty spotty.
Starting to show now.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
These last couple of losses have definitely exposed a lot of weaknesses on the team. But the Commanders are a good team, and that is a very up-and-coming team. The East should absolutely be afraid of them moving forward. But, yeah, we might see a Commanders team get this season and miss the playoffs, which sucks for them after so many years of being just kind of right? Basically, since RG3, just being
Yeah, and look, not to take anything away, we're not writing them off just yet because there's still plenty of football left in the season there. But I think it's starting to show. It is a young team, and I think what our man, what's his name there that left the Cowboys there,
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, yeah, Dan Quinn. I mean, Dan Quinn is doing a fabulous job there. But man, this is a team you're supposed to beat. The Titans are really bad. Okay, and I think Mike Vrabel, who they should have fired. I don't know if he would have done any better with this team defense wise. I think he had that team playing pretty good football. But man, the Titans have a long way to go. All right, let's jump into some of these afternoon games here. Now, this one right here was shocking, okay, because it looked like the Jets were going to win today. It really did. But Seattle had other things in mind. So this was a good road win for the Seahawks. They beat the Jets 26-21 today. Seahawks are 7-5, getting a little separation there in that tight NFC West, which, Jacob, it looked like it was going to be, a team with a losing record winning that division. But the Seahawks have catapulted to first place in the NFC West.
Yeah, they have. They look like the NFC South there for a bit, but no matter what happens with the 49ers game today, right? They're going to at least be one game ahead of the Cardinals. Like the Seahawks have really gotten, it's not commanding, but it is a commanding lead in the division. This is a good division of football. There is not a bad team. Say what you will about the Rams, but Matty Stafford is good. Kyler Murray is good. The coaching is good throughout the division. So this was a wild one. I have to say. I mean, Seattle could do it. Seattle could win the division, and that is another team that you probably don't want unless they're hurt. It's a team that you don't necessarily want to meet in the playoffs.
No, and give it up for Charbonnet. He got that late touchdown there that helped them get that win there. So where do the Jets go? Where do the Jets go? I think we have seen nothing but turmoil within the Jets organization. They thought firing Robert Saleh would end all of their problems, but that did not do it. I mean, this team looks like crap, in my opinion, that they deserve. They suck. Okay, look, if you're a transplant here in Houston from New York, I'm sorry because both your teams suck. The Giants and the Jets do, but the Jets more so. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy, although I do like those black uniforms today. They look, but when you wear that black uniform, you got to kind of play. They just the black uniforms is like for Thursday nights. Teams that wear the black uniforms play pretty good football.
Yeah, they beat the Texans in those
defense.
uniforms.
What'd you say, AJ?
I said they beat the Texans in those uniforms.
Okay. Okay. AJ doesn't forget anything, does he? So look, but Aaron Rodgers, man, I think the Jets are wanting to move on, but it seems like there's just something, there's in-house fighting there between either the GM and how they're going to handle Aaron Rodgers moving forward.
At this point, it'd be hard. This is going to be a toss-up because of the money situation. If they cut Aaron Rodgers prior to the June 1st cap, they can save a little bit of money, and it's still a very significant amount of money. And they do have that quarterback in the fold behind him, the dude from FSU that shredded his knee, kept them out of the playoff last season. If he has made a comeback, right, if he's learning the offense and he hasn't completely, lost all ability to play ball, they might have a reasonable replacement behind him, kind of like a Malik Hooker style. And it could work. But you don't know because Aaron Rodgers is on the hook for a pretty significant amount of money. If he's cut after June 1st, it's like he has like a $63 million cap hit spread between 25 and 26. So, I mean, it's going to be rough. If you keep him, you don't know. I mean, this is not the Aaron Rodgers the Jets wanted in the first place by any means.
No, it's not. And it's I don't know. I mean, just the thing, everything that the team did to get him, and just look how this thing turned out. I mean, he's going to be 41 years old tomorrow, I do believe. So, I mean, he looks older than that sometimes. And Devontae Adams, that record, that ship has sailed already. I just don't think. I think the Jets kind of realized they only had like a 1 year or 2 year window of opportunity to make this happen. Well, 1 year he was out hurt for the whole season. This year, I knew anyone could tell was never on the same page. Salah was going to be fired one way or the other, and this is what you get when you give the keys to Aaron Rodgers and he runs your organization. So probably should have talked to the Packers. There's a reason why they was ready to part ways. Did so. Um, I tell you what. Let's give an update here on the Sunday night Snow Bowl that's happening in Buffalo. It looked like the Bills are up 14-3, and wow, impressive. It was just 7-3, so we missed something there, didn't we?
Yeah, James Cook had a long touchdown, running touchdown.
Oh, that sucks.
So, okay, well, James Cook, look, when you're at home, you can play in this kind of weather. This should be an advantage. And the 49ers, I don't know if McCaffrey's going to get you the points you need tonight. I mean, this is an ugly
He also
game.
went to the locker room. He's questionable to return with a knee injury.
Wait, James Cook or CMC?
No, McCaffrey.
CMC.
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah, in a game like this with a guy that's banged up like that, you're taking a risk anyway. I saw the numbers and the projections, and there was just no way I thought that with this kind of crazy weather. But we should see they do have the backup guy. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get more into. We're going to look at the NFL standings, just kind of look and see where everything stands right now. You're listening to the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5 H Town.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
Woods is coming, throw inside. It's picked off. Leo Williams coming near side. He's running like a racehorse. He's at midfield. Turns upfield, has blockers. Holy smokes, are you kidding? Leo Williams is going to take it in for a touchdown. Seahawks.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's I love listening to the hometown announcers for these teams, but this interception for return was important for a lot of reasons. Number one, it was by a big guy who weighs over 300 pounds, which doesn't happen. You'd see it. He ran it. Leonard Williams ran this thing 92 yards back. That was a pick six from Aaron Rodgers. And remember, Leonard Williams, Jacob and AJ used the Jets, and so that man, this was crazy. The whole thing was in slow motion to me.
It was, Leonard Williams was a first-round pick for the Jets. He was a freak when they brought him in. Like, he's a specimen. Like, he is an incredible athlete, and he does happen to play for Seattle now. He's jumped a couple of teams. And this play was nuts. Like, it from start to finish, like, just absolute nuts for Seattle.
Yeah, unbelievable. I think he played his football at the University of Southern California, if I'm not mistaken, right? Some of the greatest players come from USC. I just want to put that out there. But man, it's just you don't see Aaron Rodgers throw pick sixes. First of all, I don't think he's probably you can count him maybe on one hand or two. He doesn't have like this long list of throwing pick sixes, something that you don't want to have. But that was incredible. That was really incredible. The Doom, is it back? Is it coming back just in time for the playoffs?
They really could. That'd be cool. That'd be real cool. Seattle would be a cool underdog story to come out of nowhere and just throttle people in the playoffs.
And we sort of expected, because they had that letdown last year. They were expected to go. I mean, Gino's been consistent now for what, 2 years in a row, it seems like, right?
He has.
Remember?
It's a first-year head coach, though. Pete Carroll. This is
Yeah,
Pete Carroll's
that's
first
true.
year not as the head coach.
That's true. AJ, what did you notice today, week 13, or even over the holidays there? Anything stood out we might need to keep on our radar?
Well, I mean, there's always something to look out, obviously, for. I mean, like we talked about earlier, the Eagles and Lions, who will represent the NFC in a Super Bowl potentially, because I think it's going to be out of those two teams. I think Green Bay could be a wild card to that, and we're going to see Green Bay play against the Lions next week, so on Thursday Night Football, so that's going to be really good. But those two teams look like fixtures in the NFC, and it might come out of those two. But like talking about the Seahawks, like you said, no one saw them come into this success, and it'll be interesting to see if they win a division. But they're showing multiple ways to win too, because remember they started off the season 3-0, had some struggles, had a little mini losing streak, and then they were able to persevere. So it says a lot, because the 49ers, they're likely going to miss the playoffs if we're being honest. They're 1-3 in the division, so there's a lot there. The Cardinals, they lost today too, and they play the Seahawks again next week. So if the Seahawks beat them again, they'll probably win the division for sure at that point.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. We forgot to mention that Brock Purdy is back, so which I don't. The difference. I mean, he's only thrown for 29 yards right now. Not going to be a lot of throwing in a game like this. McCaffrey, I think before he got hurt, Jacob seemed like he was on his way. 7 rushes for 53 yards. Looked like he had that long one for 19. But now it looks like Jordan Mason's gonna have to pick up the duties.
Yeah, he was cooking. I got hopeful. I got hopeful way too fast, but he did look good. I mean, he had 59 rush yards, and then he had 2 catches for 14 through the air in a game that's not going to be dominated by throwing. Prayers up for him. Hopefully he comes back, or at least hopefully he's okay. But I do think that Jordan Mason is going to be he'll to stay in this, maybe. Buffalo's built for this. It is a little different. You can't go to Orchard Park and play in 3 feet of snow confidently without living in a place like that. There is no place like that.
This is December. Just think what January is going to be like. I mean, it just seems like this is an early one. Folks traveling, returning home from Thanksgiving, coming from the East Coast. I know a couple of airports shut down this weekend. But man, look, that snow that you see on TV tonight in Buffalo, that could be their ticket to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, because that weather, look, if you know, and Kansas City can withstand that too, that type of weather. But look, I guarantee you that the AFC West, the AFC Championship, is either going to go through Buffalo or Kansas City, which is two cold weather teams. And you know, you saw what how Miami struggled at Lambeau on Thanksgiving night. Look, if you're a West Coast team, it's just not cut out for you to play, you know, in these cold weather cities.
Well, that was like last year when Miami traveled to Kansas City for the playoffs. It was -30. Like they're the cold builds people differently, and if you don't play in the cold, it is not something you can just step into. The cold is very different from any other kind of weather. The extreme cold, I guess I should
The
say.
extreme cold. So look, they're about to hit the 2-minute warning up there in Buffalo. The Bills are winning 14 to yeah, they're just getting underway from the 2-minute warning there. So here's the thing. Just looking at the Buffalo stats right quick. Uh, Josh Allen 5 of 6, 70. So going conservative. I'm thinking the weather has a whole lot to do with that. James Cook. Oh my goodness. So look, and this is the 8 rushes for 100 yards, a touchdown. He had that long one for 65 yards. Good Lord, who has him? I think Dustin Pfeiffer. Somebody has him in their fantasy. Don't you hate those runs when you're playing against a guy like that? That just sucks when you got to sit there because that's about 20, 30 points right off the bat, right? Points there. Well, he's got a touchdown and 100 yards, so you get like some bonus stuff for that, right?
The 100-yard bump. Yep.
So this is pretty incredible. The guy I like on this Buffalo team, guys, is Ray Davis. How about this, man? Buffalo have seen guy. Is that Ty Johnson? The Ty Johnson and this Ray Davis guy is really kind of helping James Cook. James Cook comes out there and gets it done, but these other guys are getting it done too. So Buffalo has looked solid. Remember at the beginning of the year, we were talking about like, well, what is going on? They don't have Stephon Diggs. You know, they lost Gabe Davis. So I mean, look at the Buffalo Bills.
Their whole defense died too, and he was questionable to come into this game, but Matt Milano is coming back. The fact that that's even going to happen is crazy in itself, but they did. They lost their entire defense. Their offense may have lost Stephon Diggs, but what was a dominating defense was supposed to suck. And they are a great football team.
Yeah, I mean, 9-2, first place in the AFC East, and look, no one knew the East was gonna stink it up this year. You know, there were the faithful Jet fans who I just told you your team sucked, so you shouldn't have had any uh, dreams, goals, whatever you want to call them, of your team being better than your team is not even better than the Miami Dolphins, and they don't really play good football. You know, this was the year. This was the year everyone took their eyes off the Buffalo Bills, and I think Buffalo's getting it in. Look, they've already beaten the Chiefs, which I think they know they have to beat Kansas City in the playoffs.
Yes.
If they're gonna get to
If they want to get to the
New
Super Bowl.
Orleans. Oh yeah, by the way, because we're gonna be in New Orleans, and this is what I really like about it, and what we do here, Jacob and AJ, because I don't know there, but we're gonna be in New Orleans waiting for him, right? That's that's what we're talking about, right?
It's gonna be a good time.
So look here, the 49ers are 5-6. And I think both of you guys just said that there's just no way they are going to get into the playoffs. That will be a monumental letdown for a team. Are we blaming it on injuries? Are we blaming it on the fact that things have just caught up with the 49ers? They don't frighten or scare anyone? I mean, what's going on, AJ, with the 49ers?
It's a combination of injuries. If you ask the 49ers, they'll probably say injuries, but it's a combination of them also playing so many extra postseason games over the years, you know, making an NFC Championship game in the 21 season, 22 season, 23 season, and 2019 as well, too. I mean, that takes a toll. So, I mean, that's so many extra games that you're playing every year, too. So I think it's a combination of that, and they've just been injured a lot, too. And like Jacob said, they're gonna have to make some decisions with the contract extensions, because I think Deebo Samuel is gonna be up for like an extension at least next season. I remember last time he had requested a trade when that stuff happened too. So I don't know. It's gonna get shaky up there. You have so many windows, and you keep getting to the Super Bowl and losing to the Chiefs. I mean, hey, that might be the end of the window. We'll see though.
What do you think, Jacob?
I think AJ hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I agree with everything he said. I think Ayuk getting this bad earlier this season, I think that's going to hurt him more than people realized, especially now that he's down with injury. Debo's extension is coming up. You got to decide whether to let him go or retain him. Juwan Jennings has already been paid. So this is the team you have. I mean, they've already proved it. Running back doesn't matter, right? CMC goes down. There's 37 other running backs on that team that Kyle Shanahan can somehow make look like a starting running back. But they have so many other issues, and they're starting to get older, and they're wearing down. Like AJ said, it literally perfect. They've been to the postseason so many years in a row. All these old guys, man, it is just it's ground and pound. They are wearing out a little earlier every year, and I do believe that maybe next year the window is a little open, but I do think this Super Bowl window for San Francisco is closing rapidly.
I think so too, but I also think that they shouldn't have fired their defensive coordinator last year, who they just, had a knee-jerk reaction to losing the Super Bowl. They fired, was it Steve Wilkes? Just a bad choice. I mean, that defense has not been the same. There's been some individual accomplishments on that defense, but as a collective unit, they're not playing the way they played under Wilkes last year. So, I mean, that's something that people need to. Hey, we're going to break. We're at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we will talk with Dustin Pfeiffer, who is one of our Sports Kings guys. He also covers the Carolina Panthers for FanDuel Sports Southeast. Going to talk about Bryce Young and his performance. And even though the Panthers lose, they played a great game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So stick around for that interview coming up. You're listening to the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows right here on ESPN 97.5.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, moving right along the second hour. The second hour is the Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5 Houston with Jacob Meadows and AJ. Look, the Sports Kings, we didn't do a show this week because, the holiday, we always do our show on a Thursday for the most part. So that was Thanksgiving, of course. So, and, I do that with my main guy here. And I'm going to bring him on here because, man, we had a very interesting game there in Carolina, in Charlotte today. And of course, we refused to talk about that game until we got our guy on here. And I'm talking about my great friend here that I've worked with for, good Lord, 12, 14. Anyway, he covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets for FanDuel Sports Southeast. Dustin Pfeiffer, welcome to the show.
Mean Gene, Jacob, what's going on, man? Glad to be on with y'all and talk some football. It definitely was an interesting day here in Carolina and an interesting day in the NFL.
Yeah, it was. It was indeed. Look, man, me and Jacob were watching the tail end of that game. A heartbreaking loss there. The Buccaneers win 26-23 in overtime. And, man, but Dustin, I know that the Carolina fans there have to be impressed with what they see here in this late season here from the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak for all Carolina fans and say, obviously we wanted to win the game. You wanted to get a win. That would have been 3 out of 4 of your last wins. I mean, that really would have put them on a good trajectory. But, Gene, I texted you during the game, and you texted me as well. I don't think it really, and it's hard to say this about an NFL team because you want to win games, but when you're sitting 3-8 and you've had 6 years of not just mediocrity, but 6 years of being one of the bottom feeders in the NFL, that's what the Panthers have been. When you've watched these last 4 weeks, and I've watched every play, and I know you've watched a lot as well, Gene, to see what Bryce Young, the turnaround that he's doing, I don't think anybody that covers the league that's in Carolina, anybody could expect the turnaround that Bryce Young has had. And it just seems that sitting those couple of weeks has really opened his eyes. And you look at it today, he throws for 298, so he basically throws for 300 yards. He leads the game-tying drive, or a go-ahead drive. He then gets them set up in field goal range, but they give up a fumble. So he had them in the range to win this game twice. He doesn't turn the ball over. This is coming off a week last week, Gene, where he led a game-tying drive and was down double digits in the fourth quarter to the defending champion Chiefs and led them back to tie that game. It's unbelievable, the transformation that he's made. And I think it's not to go so far to say now that this is the number one pick that everybody thought they were going to see coming out of Alabama. And does he still have a ways to go? He does. But if you watch some of these throws he's making, they are big-time throws in the NFL. And, again, I can't state it enough that that's the only thing that matters right now for the last 6 weeks of this season is continuing to see Bryce Young play like that. Because if he does, you have a direction to go in, and you know he's going to be your quarterback next year, and you know what to go build around him because you know you have a quarterback.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Dustin. I think the organization really has to be comfortable now knowing that a decision was made. But I think they're in a comfortable spot now, Dustin and Jacob, knowing that, okay, look, we may not need Dalton next year. I think benching him was the best thing. I think we feel really good going into next year with Bryce Young.
Oh,
yeah. I think it's only been a couple of weeks, and Jacob, I'll let you jump in here too. I think it's only been a couple of weeks, so you don't want to get too high and say, all right, we know that he's definitely the guy for the long-term future. But I think this couple of weeks he's definitely shown that he's earned enough to be the starter for next year, and you can go into next year knowing he's your guy and use the draft to build the defense and other positions around him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. I mean, they build on what they're doing this year, right? And then you can go out. Maybe some more free agents will actually want to come to Carolina. They're going to have a bunch of cap space. They're going to have a good draft pick, and it just feels like where they'll actually be able to draft. Because I'm not sure where they sit after the Bryce won this year, but whatever they do have, it's going to be a good spot, whatever round it may be, and they can actually start to reload on talent. And if they can build on this, I mean, Carolina could be a half decent team next year.
Yeah, and look at this division. Honestly, if they would have won this game today, and I'm not saying they would have been in the hunt to win the division, but you got to look at who's around you. They would have only been 2 games out of first place because look at how bad Atlanta's playing. They would have
Yeah.
beat the Bucks, look at the Bucks who have been up and down. We talk about this division all the time, Gene. The NFC South every year, if you're around 500 or just above 500, you're in the hunt to win this division.
That's true.
That's the case again this year. So listen, they made some sacrifices on defense last year. They got rid of Brian Burns. They got rid of Frankie Luvu. They used that money to shore up their offensive line. They paid $100 million for guards. They drafted a rookie running back who looked very impressive today in Jonathan Brooks from Texas. They drafted a wide receiver in Leggett. So they sacrificed to build the offense around Bryce Young. And you got to give Dave Canales a lot of credit. He did it with Baker Mayfield. He did it with Geno Smith. And now it looks like he's doing it with Bryce Young. This guy knows how to fix a quarterback. So now what you do is I would take that entire draft, my top pick, which will probably be top 10, maybe even top 5, the entire draft, I would go defensive line, build that defense up because it looks like you've established something on offense. And you're right. Who knows? You could surprise some teams next year and at least maybe be around that 500 mark, if not slightly above.
Yeah, I mean, great game though, and like you said, the passing. I mean, it looked like Bryce Young is getting really comfortable in the passing. I was shocked to see him put it up 46 times, but no picks there, 298 yards. But defensively wise, Dustin, it just seemed like it was too much Mike Evans and Bucky Irvin.
Yeah, too much of the run game. Mike Evans did have a couple of great catches, but it was the run game that kind of wore it down. But I do want to give that defense credit. Like I said, they lost a lot on that this year, and Ejiro Evero has been playing hard. And they actually made the stop in overtime to force a punt, and Bryce Young put them in field goal range. And Chuba Hubbard, who has honestly been the Panthers' best player this entire season and one of the top running backs in the NFL, fumbles the ball. You don't expect that. You saw how bad he felt. So I feel bad for him because he's carried this team this year. But the defense, even shorthanded, put them in position to win that game. You just can't fumble it late. And again, to me, I wanted to win the game. I hate they lost it. But to see Bryce Young be down in the fourth quarter, drive them down, make a play to take the lead, then drive them down in overtime again. He's doing it time and time again. And, Gene, it's not like he's throwing for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. He only had 1 touchdown throwing, but he did run for 1 as well. But what you see is, if you watch it, just watch what he does. He's staying, and we talked about this, Gene, he's staying in the pocket. He's not scared. He's actually climbing the pocket to step up and make that throw. That's what he did for Thielen to take the lead. And it just seems that the confidence is there. And that's why people wanted to take him number 1 out of Bama. He likes to run on the run, make plays on the run. He likes to step up in the pocket, and that seems to be what he's doing now. So if you're a Panthers fan, you got to be excited with what you're seeing.
Well, I tell you what, you mentioned Adam Thielen. What a catch. That one-handed catch by Adam Thielen was just remarkable.
Yeah, one of the best catches we've seen this season, and it just really stinks that we had to waste that catch because as soon as he caught that ball, we thought that set the Panthers up to a position to win this game.
Yeah.
So just an unbelievable catch. But listen, and that's the kind of veteran presence you need around this young team to have a guy like Adam Thielen because everybody else on that offense is fairly young. So it's good to have a guy like that. Good to see him back on the field. And again, I just – you're not about moral victories in the NFL, but just think about where this Panthers team has been the last few years. We talked about ownership and how it's been bad. It finally seems like they have a direction. And when you're a team trying to rebuild, that's all you can ask for is to have your quarterback in place, and hopefully now that's Bryce, and then try to build around him, and at least you have a direction to go in.
All right, folks. Once again, we are talking with Dustin Pfeiffer, who covers the Carolina Panthers for FanDuel Sports Southeast. And look here, Dustin. So what's going to happen with the NFC South? So now that, the Panthers played a little spoiler today, we saw the worst of Kirk Cousins. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like you don't know what Cousins you're going to get. But today was really bad.
It was really bad. And I know that the Falcons have won both of the games against the Buccaneers, so they have that tiebreaker in hand. But if you're asking me to pick a team right now, Gene, give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will take Baker Mayfield's toughness. And, Gene, you know this, coming from me trying to give Baker Mayfield credit. I'm not a guy to do that because I was not a fan. He was a huge bust here in Carolina. But give me his toughness. Give me Mike Evans. Give me that run game they got now with Bucky Irvin. And that defense. I'll take the Bucs to win this division because I've watched the Falcons the past few weeks, and it does not look like it's heading in the right direction. And the more you have to rely on Kirk Cousins and you don't have that run game going, it's going to be a problem. So if you're asking me right now, with 5 weeks to go, who's going to win this division, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You think the Saints still have an outside chance? We haven't really talked about their game today, but I mean, it's an ugly division, but the Saints are only
Yeah.
with 2 games out of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're hanging around. I mean, like I said, with the Panthers, if they would have won that game, it would have been 2 games out. But everybody has a chance. But I'm going to go with the people who have been there. And you think about it, if the Buccaneers were to win this year, that would be their 4th division title in a row. You don't really think that until you hear it say it out loud. So I'm going to go with the experience and go with the people that have been there before. And, Gene, how many times, and Jacob, how many times are we going to sit here and say, the Falcons are the favorite to win this division? They should win this division. And every year they come up short. So until they can prove it to me that they can win this division, I'm going to go with the team that's been there, and I'll take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Atlanta definitely took the dream team in Philadelphia. They took the same approach, and they're having the exact same. Well, maybe not the exact same outcome. It's a bit lesser, but it really does. Like, they went out, they spent all this money on bringing people in, and there's no chemistry. And Kirk Cousins is a big part of it. Falling flat on their face. And I have to agree with you, dude. Like, at Tampa Bay, give me Tampa all day long in this division, just because they've been there and they have that it factor, right? They don't win games by 40 points. They're not shutting people out, but they play their style of ball, and their style of ball wins enough division.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Dustin, I tell you what, man, we will connect this week with the Sports Kings and kind of get a
Absolutely.
better perspective on what might be happening here with the flex games, and it won't be long before we have Saturday games, man. But did you coming on? Did you have a good Thanksgiving, by the way?
Hey, listen, I had a great Thanksgiving. I hope y'all did too. And I know AJ's got to be happy. He's a Cowboys fan, right? At least they have won 2 games in a row. Maybe he's in a better mood for y'all, team, because I know it's been a rough year for them as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. I feel a little bit better, but I want to get Ashton Genty, so I want them to chill out a little bit.
Yeah, you don't want them to win too many games because they're not going anywhere. That's the thing. I'll end it with that. That's the thing about the Panthers as well. You want to win games, but at least you're competitive. You're in games against good teams, the Buccaneers, the Chiefs, and even if you lose, you're still going to help that draft pick going forward for next year. So still some stuff to be excited about in Carolina.
All right, Dustin, man, we will follow up, my man. Thanks a lot for coming on.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, Dustin Pfeiffer joining us here, and we are going to wrap things up. We'll get you a score from Buffalo. We have a cup to update you on and get our thoughts and predictions on the Monday Night Football game. You're listening to the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows right here on ESPN 97.5.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, we're about to wrap things up here on a Sunday night. And you know what? We just had Dustin Pfeiffer on talking about the Panthers and what the outlook could be for one Bryce Young there. Jacob, I thought that was pretty interesting.
That was pretty cool. And I do love to see Bryce develop before our eyes. And I missed it in the last segment, but man, he had 2 dots that called incomplete there at the back of the end zone, and then they had that one there towards the end of the game. And his chemistry with Adam Thielen is nuts. This late
that's
career
crazy, huh?
surge for him is
You get a rookie and a veteran like that. You know, that's kind of reminded me of when Murray came into the league. And I believe Fitzgerald was still there, right? Just maybe for one. Yeah, you saw something going.
Yes,
there.
It brings along the development, right? When you have somebody you can trust, you have somebody that you can really help grow with, so that you get the feel for the league.
Good guy to have. So, all right, it's halftime in Buffalo at Highmark Stadium. There, 21-3 is the score. And that is the Bills over the 49ers. It's going to be a long night for the 49ers. Not to mention that you got a West Coast team and you know, East Coast cold weather. It does get cold up in the Bay Area, but nothing like what they're experiencing tonight. Not to mention what the look like. Josh Allen has a touchdown. He's 8 of 10, 97, and a touchdown. And rushing touchdowns, you have Davis and Cook, and that passing touchdown went to Hollins. So I don't think it gets any better for the rest of the night for the 49ers.
No, and you know, it makes sense that Mac Hollins one that scores that touchdown. You know, that dude's barefoot all the time. That's how he lives his life. And he's down there in Buffalo. That is a man of the ice. And it makes sense that he would be the one to go the distance for the tutter for Buffalo in the first half.
That's ridiculous. Okay, we got 2 more games that took place later this evening. We want to get those before we get to our Monday night game. The Rams, who are 6-6, third place in the NFC West, they knock off the Saints in New Orleans. Saints third place in the NFC South. We just talked about them with Dustin Pfeiffer. So look, the Rams, they basically grinded out this win because of Matthew Stafford, who, how many times have we seen him in late games get it done?
So many times. And you know, it was one of those things where the year that they won the Super Bowl, they loaded up, right? They were doing things the cap room shouldn't have allowed. They had magic money. They were just throwing it around to whomever. They won the Super Bowl, and then you have the Super Bowl hangover where you lose all of those one-year contracts, and you kind of have to, you know, rebuild. And Matt Stafford is just a beacon of consistency. He is such a good quarterback. And he has taken this team to high. I did not expect the Rams to be this good this year, Gene.
No, and this, you know what, one thing I've always said over the years, and I've been doing this for 20-something years, I show a lot of respect to quarterbacks who get into the playoffs who have won a Super Bowl, because these guys, you know what it takes to get there. So if you mess around, you let a Russell Wilson get in there, you let a Matthew Stafford get in there, and even though these guys are on the other side of their careers, watch out. I mean, you just never know. And this NFC, you know, the Rams are the type of team that can upset one of these top, you know, like Vikings, you know, Packers, or even Lions for that matter, when you look at this stuff. So keep an eye out on those quarterbacks that have been there and won. So that's something to remember. Okay, and we also had this game right here. I tell you what, man, the Eagles, the Ravens, they just can't. The Ravens are not looking like the Ravens. I don't know. The Philadelphia Eagles go into M&T Bank Stadium there and beat at home. Something the Ravens don't do much is lose at home. They beat them 24-19, and you know, Tucker, who's been clutch, he didn't come up clutch this time.
This is one of the most precipitous fall-offs we've ever seen for a special teams player. Justin Tucker it's almost hurting his legacy. This year and last, he has not been consistent. He has not been a great kicker. And you wonder if he's going to hang it up here soon. It might be time, because he definitely hurt Baltimore tonight. And, I mean, despite the final score being 24-19, that took a very, very late touchdown just to bring it that close.
Yeah.
You got to wonder how much you need to worry about Baltimore. They started the season really hot. Here lately, they have not. So it is going to be interesting to see how they end up closing the year with the remaining teams that they still have on their schedule and the fact that they can't necessarily have Justin Tucker save them in these close
No, they
games.
can't, and it's just they started out what that score was 9-0. Looked like it was going to be a good Baltimore win, the way they normally play football, and then all of a sudden Barkley continues another game over 100 yards a day and a touchdown. Derrick Henry didn't get into the end zone, which is sort of surprising there. So give it up to the Philly defense for doing what they needed to do. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on now. And Baltimore finds themselves slipping in that AFC North, where the Steelers now, because they beat the Bengals, have a 2-game cushion there, and they have one more rematch with the Ravens, which may not even depends. The Steelers might win that division without even having to start their players in week 16 or 17 whenever they play each other again. It just may not matter. But shocking loss. I won't say. I mean, I'm not shocked that the Eagles won, but just to see that Baltimore loses at home. That's incredible. So their leverage in the AFC is going down a little bit, where now it seems more like people are going to keep an eye on the Steelers, Kansas City, and Buffalo.
Yeah, and for the bulk of this year, I really thought the Ravens were going to be the one team in the AFC that could go toe to toe with Kansas City. That now it's starting to look like a bad bet. I do believe that they still could. I think Baltimore's still easily top 5 in the AFC, but I do think, and as much as it pains me to say it, I think the Steelers are a better team through and through, and I think Buffalo is also better, just better. So it is interesting adventure that Baltimore is on.
Yeah, because look, they find themselves. We're going to talk about this Monday night game here. Cleveland goes to Denver tomorrow night. Denver should win this game. Denver 7-5. They will probably be 8-5. I know it's kind of. I don't want to jinx these guys, but and Baltimore could find themselves on the outside looking in now. Now you're getting close here. You're losing these games, and you got the Chargers and the Broncos are making the AFC West look even more interesting. Now you might get 2-3 teams from the AFC West in the playoffs. So talking about this game here, Jacob, I just look, man, something about what's his name? Sutton. What's his name? Cortland Sutton. It's something there. I don't think the Broncos lose tomorrow night. I think they get this win over famous Jameis and the Cleveland Browns.
I have to agree, and I have a soft spot. I've got a lot of game used Cleveland Browns jerseys on my wall in my home studio. I have always had a soft spot for them. I love Jameis Winston. I do believe he is a national treasure, and I hope that he reprises his career in Cleveland. But this Denver team's legit. I am not a fan of Sean Payton. I have never been shy saying it, but man, has he done a good job with this Denver team.
Yeah, I give him his credit.
They're cooking, man. They are good. Bo Nix has been in the league this is his rookie season, but his 37th season as a starting quarterback, and that dude is a monster. He has figured out his groove.
Man, you want to hear something? Okay. Bo Nix has thrown for over 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 picks. Incredible stuff for a rookie quarterback, and playing those extra years did obviously help. But AJ, who you like in this game tomorrow night?
Yeah, the Broncos should win it. Obviously not everything that should happen does, but I think the Broncos, they'll win this game. How they're playing, like Jacob said, I don't really mess with Sean Payton that much either, because especially how he did Russell Wilson. But he is a good coach and able to get things going well. And low-key, Bo Nix might still offensive rookie of the year from Jaden Daniels.
He just might,
honestly, because how he's been playing better lately too. So
yeah, he just might. So wow. Well, that almost, we're getting close to the end of the show. Next week, we're talking a little bit more about the NFL playoff scenarios. They might be a little bit clearer next week as we get closer to week 14. And then I just kind of hate, you got some Saturday games coming up. The flex scheduling is already out. We'll get into that stuff. So, AJ, man, for bringing us on tonight. And I got to thank Kiara for setting up the Christmas tree once again. And Jacob for coming over here, hanging out. I'm getting ready to kick him out now because I'm getting tired. I'm an old man. I have to go to sleep before 9 o'clock. We'll see you back here next week. Week 14 on the Mean Gene Show right here. EN 97.5.